What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon. NFL DFS video. We are breaking down Thursday Night Football. We're going to check it out. We are going to break it down, hopefully like you've never seen before. So we're going to go through some, not necessarily DFS secrets, but some strategy behind building lineups, not just throwing them at the wall and hoping they stick. So we're going to stick around and we're going to do that. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We hit 10,000 subscribers a couple weekends ago, almost 2 weeks ago, and we're growing steadily, and hopefully we can go, next goal is 100,000. But while you're here, if you are not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. If you find this useful, go check out all of our other information. We do MLB videos. We do NFL videos. We're going to do a full breakdown of the main slate using Outlier and using SaberSim. We're going to do it all. We bring those to you. We're going to do other videos for showdowns. We're going to do the rankings. We have a website, as you can see on the screen. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com is that website. Hopefully it helps you out. Hopefully you can help us out. If you can't subscribe for $10 a week, $30 a month, you can subscribe here to our YouTube channel and you can click on the ads. You can share these videos. That helps out immensely. You do not understand how much that helps out immensely. I have been mulling around. YouTube's been pushing it, but would you guys be interested in a channel if I did channel memberships here on YouTube? I don't know. Like, I'm looking into it. I don't really know much about it. I'm looking into that. I'm also looking into like a secondary channel of like just gaming. I do games. I can do other things as well. If those are some things that you guys would follow, subscribe, and support, I'll do stuff like that too. Obviously, trying to make this a full-time job, it's not, but we'll get a different story. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the statistics from last year and to this year. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com will have all that information under the NFL tab. If you go here and you check out what we've got, a lot for DFS. But what we're going to do is we are going to go through and we are going to build some lineups as well. And then at the end, we're going to come back to Outlier and we're going to look at some of our favorite props for Thursday Night Football. So stick around. If you want, the chapters will be here so you can follow that. So again, Outlier.Bet is our sponsor for these videos. So check them out. We'll go through it. But there is a free trial, 7-day free trial if you want to check it out. You can check all of these trends out. NHL is back, so you can check out all these trends in our Discord down below. So check it out. But we are going to look and build some props in a single game for this after we are done. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the statistics that we normally do in these videos. So this is all from last year and the first 5 weeks of this year for showdowns on DraftKings and for every single showdown. So Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. During COVID, we had Tuesday and Wednesday night, which was awesome. Not that COVID was awesome, but it was awesome. So looking at the statistics through last year and this year, 84% of the winning lineups have had a quarterback in their lineup, somewhere in their lineup, whether or not it was a flex or a captain/MVP spot over on FanDuel. 6% of the lineups use the entire $50,000 salary, so not necessarily, don't feel like you get to 48 and you need a $2,000 player. Like, you can leave some money on the table. 16% of the winning lineups have had a $200 or less player. So if we look at those and we come down here to $200 or less, not a ton. I mean, Ronnie Bell a little bit. He's done something, but I mean, he hasn't done much at all. Game log wise, he had 3 targets, 1 catch for 12 yards in week 3, and that was it. So he's probably inactive as well. Other than that, yeah, you're not really doing much. I don't know why the doorbell's ringing. You're not really doing much there. So there's not much at 2,000. 80% of the winning lineups had a $4,000 player or less, which brings us to Juwan Jennings and down, which makes a lot of sense. Juwan Jennings makes sense. Seahawks defense possibly. Charbonnet, Noah Fant. Like, there are some ones that we will look at when we build lineups. And then the average lineup salary that the winning lineups have had was $47,500. So they have left some on the table. They have $2,500 on the table average. Not always, and it's not every single game. So then we break it down even more. Stacking, that is a huge thing in DFS. That is a huge thing in showdowns. So a 3-3 stack has worked 36% of the time. So 3 on San Francisco, 3 on Seattle. A 4-2 stack has worked 44% of the time. and a 5-1 stack has only worked 21% of the time. So most likely we're not going to get much 5-1 stacks that are going to take it, especially if this game is considered to be close and they think it will be. So this game opened up with a 47 over-under and the San Francisco 49ers being a 5.5 point favorite. It has now gone up to 48.5, and the line has gone down to San Francisco 3.5 point favorite. So looking at that, I think this is going to be a close game. I don't think we're going to do a 5-1 stack. I think we want to get the majority of the plays to probably be about a 3-3, if not a 4-2. Captain percentages. This is key. Wide receiver has been in the nuts lineup, winning lineup 39% of the time. It's usually a wide receiver unless something happened where the kickers are just the kickers and having a 6 or 7 for 7 day, and it's just a kicking game. I don't think that's going to be the case in this game. Running back 28% of the time. Quarterback 17% of the time. So a big quarterback like Lamar the other day, or Geno the one Monday where he put up 500 yards or whatever he put up, or Kirk Cousins last Thursday putting up 500 yards. Like these, there's instances, but they're few and far between. A tight end has been there 7% of the time. The only one that I would even trust in this is George Kittle. Defense has been 7% of the time, and then kicker has been 2% of the time. Again, kickers, I don't see this game being a kicking game, so I am probably not going to have a kicker as a captain spot. So we can even go on even a little bit further on this, and we do have a matchup tool, which I'll kind of show you the matchup tool. I'll just show the quarterback. I've put it all together, all but the tight ends here. So we can look at this. And just for instance, showing you on the screen for this week, it's already completed. But as you can see, these are the defenses you want to target against right here. These are all the statistics through the games, their red zone ranking, their what they've given up to the opposing quarterbacks. If they've given up a 300-plus yard game, rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks, and then DraftKings points or FanDuel points and FanDuel rank in this. So just for instance, if you wanted to look at both of these quarterbacks and you want to see how they rank up against this, so you're looking at San Francisco and Seattle. So Seattle right here, against the quarterback, they rank 11th out of 32. So they've been really good against the quarterback. They've given up 1,000 yards. They've given up 5 touchdowns through the air and 1 touchdown on the ground. Then if you get to San Francisco's 13th. So these defenses have been really good against the quarterback. So San Francisco has given up 1,055 yards, 7 touchdowns to quarterbacks, and no 300-plus yard games, and 1 touchdown to a running quarterback. And they give up an average of 16.7 fantasy points per game. So we've got the same thing for running backs. We've got the same thing for wide receivers and tight ends as well. So we are going to reference that when building, but we're also still going to build just like normal and build you some lineups here as well. And then, like I said, at the end, we will do some of our favorite prop bets of the day. So looking at this game, obviously McCaffrey being out. He's out. He might be back next week, they said. So Jordan Mason has been pretty good in his absence. Against the run, though, if we were to look at running backs in this situation on DraftKings, Seattle against the run, looking at them, Seattle against the running back, they rank 18th out of 32. They give it up an average of 23.4 fantasy points per game on DraftKings, 20.9 on FanDuel. So obviously Jordan Mason makes a lot of sense. Jordan Mason is the number 6th ranked running back this year. So he's 6th ranked overall, and all of these ranks and everything are on the website or on the matchup tool as well. That matchup tool is worth $10 itself, the $10 for a month or for a week. So you can look at that. And then if we look on the flip side, so we're looking at Seattle, we're looking at Kenneth Walker, we're looking at Charbonnet. So Kenneth Walker. So San Francisco against the run, right below Seattle. So Seattle's ranked 18th, San Francisco's ranked 16th. They give up an average of 22 fantasy points. So kind of close. You could see a bunch of stuff, especially if Kenneth Walker goes beast mode yet again. So they make a lot of sense. And then you go wide receivers. So wide receivers, in this game, they're right next to each other. So Seattle ranks 11th, giving up 29.8 fantasy points. San Francisco ranks 10th, giving up 29.6 fantasy points. So they're very close in that sense as well. And then if we go to tight end wise, San Francisco ranks 11th, gives up an average of 8.5 fantasy points per game on DraftKings, whereas Seattle is 21st, ranking 11.9. So George Kittle is in play. Whether or not he's going to be in play as your captain, that I don't know. So we're going to make a few different ones, and we'll see what we can do with them, building lineups. So we were always wondering if Ayuk was going to come back. What was he going to do? Was he going to have a good game finally? Finally, that game was last week. 147 yards, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 53 was his longest. Did not have a touchdown, does not have a touchdown on the year, but had 25.7 fantasy points. So let's build a lineup with Ayuk as our captain. So you can see we save about 3,000 using him as opposed to Jordan Mason. So we've got Ayuk there. I think we can still get Mason in there. I think we can still get Purdy. So I want him to be throwing it to Ayuk. I want him to be handing it off or dumping passes off to Jordan Mason as well. So I think we're going to do a 3-3 stack. So I think we can get Geno in there and have 2. So we're averaging 4,300. So everyone's going to be on JSN. Everyone's going to be on DK Metcalf. One I'm looking at is kind of Tyler Lockett. Now we're making multiple different lineups. He's had back-to-back 10-plus fantasy point days. Obviously, we'd love to see a touchdown out of him. Maybe they do lock down the other 2, and Lockett finally breaks through for the day. We will see. We're going to put him in there. Now, that averages us 3,200 for what we can do. So you've got Noah Fant against the tight end, like we said. He could have some moves there. So Fant makes a little bit of sense. Hasn't done much. Doesn't have a touchdown, only 14 receptions. Barner would be a cheap option, a tight end here, if he plays. Played last week, 1 target, 1 reception for 13 yards, so he hasn't done anything, but he does have a touchdown in week 4 against Detroit. Kyle Juszczyk is always a bruiser. Let's say Jordan Mason runs 98 yards and is gassed, and they want to hand it off to Juszczyk. Would not be surprised to see him score a touchdown in this game, especially if you're doing prop bets. I don't know if I trust him enough in showdowns, though. And then, probably not going any lower, like I said. So I'm going to go Noah Fant in this one. So in this one, we have a 3-3 stack. We've got Ayuk as our captain. We've got both quarterbacks throwing to guys. We have a balanced lineup that I like. We left 200 on the table. Again, you can leave more on the table, but we have left 200 on the table there. Now, for instance, let's say we think San Francisco is going to go up big, and we are going to need Seattle to be throwing the ball a ton. I'm going to put Jordan Mason as my captain. I'm going to put Geno in there. I like me some JSN here. I like Kenneth Walker. He's got a great matchup. So we're at 4,300 there. Tyler Lockett, I still think he could make a sneaky option. Now we're at 3,300. We can go Noah Fant again. We could go down. You could go Barner. You could go Juszczyk. You could go Saubert. I don't think he's going to be in. I don't think he's going to do much, but you could. So Noah Fant makes a lot of sense there. So now that is a 4-1 stack. That's me trying to think of all the different scenarios this could happen. San Francisco's up big. They've got to throw the ball. Geno is in there. He's throwing it to 3 of his guys and handing it off to the other one if they get into that. Or flip side, they go up big, and these are the guys that people are scoring, and everyone's on DK, and we have faded DK just a little bit, at least for this lineup anyway. So that's lineup number 2. Just kind of looking on a different direction. If you wanted to go, and let's say, for instance, we got Mason, okay? We've got Ayuk. You want to go cheap? Let's say we take the Seahawks defense. Now, it's not necessarily going to do a ton. Obviously, they've had 2 double-digit games, one last week against Daniel Jones, which isn't saying much, and then one week 3 against Skylar Thompson, or was it Huntley? I don't think Tua was in. I think Tua died week 2. So, again, that's 3,800. You've a cheaper option. You've got San Francisco, and you've got that. So, for instance, you could – Charbonnet's still averaging 14.4. Not so much last week with Walker in, but did have some good games there. So, maybe we look at Charbonnet. Maybe we look at Walker at the same time. And then we're at 9,300. We're able to go Geno. So, Geno can throw, dump it off. Or we take out, let's say we take out Charbonnet. We're at 3,500. Fanta's in there again. Barner, Juszczyk, like you could get sneaky here. So let's, for instance, make a lineup and Juszczyk is in there. We've left 2,100 on the table. This is only if, Mason gets hurt or Mason gets tired and gets subbed out and Juszczyk bulldozes his way through there. So that's a lineup. Again, we're not, we're trying to make some lineups that are outside of the box there and a different way to make it. So let's go a different way. Mason here. Let's go Purdy. We're going to do a 4-1 San Francisco stack that I think we can do. Kittle will play. He was questionable last week. Came in. All he did last week was score a touchdown, have 64 yards, 20.4 fantasy points, 23 receptions on the year so far. So we've got 3 San Francisco there. I think we can still throw to Debo. We do have to get a Seattle Seahawk in, so I'm going to put JSN in there. Now we're at 2,100. So not a ton of options to go with. You could go Isaac here. Really hasn't done much. He might be in there. Could do something. Did have 5 rushes last week. 5 attempts. He had 5 attempts in week 3, 1 and 1 in the other weeks, and then none in week 1. He's 2,000. He's a very cheap option. Like we said, against the running back, Seattle. Where were they at? Seattle gives up an average of 23.4 fantasy points per game. So you could look at him as a cheap option. If you don't think it's going to be Juszczyk, you could definitely go down to him. Or you could go up to him, or Juszczyk for 1,400. You could go to him as well. So anywhere between. So let's just be a little bit crazy with this one. I don't think he's probably going to be less than 2% owned. Or if you play the 150 max, he will be owned because of optimizers and people that max out 200 or 150 lineups. They will for sure be in there a little bit. But that's just a different way. So kind of looking at other ways, let's say Debo. So we said 39% of the time a wide receiver was in that spot. He's had a couple of down games, though. For whatever reason, he was hurt. He came back. He's played the last 2 weeks. Just hasn't had that many targets for whatever reason. So I think people will be off of him and going like with Ayuk because of his huge week. So let's fade it and go this way. Let's put a kicker in here. He's not a captain. He's in a flex. That makes sense. We can still average 7,900. We could still get Ayuk in here. We can get Purdy in here. Now we're at 7,000 a piece for the last 2. So depending on where you want to go, you could go JSN, and then you could go Lockett, but we don't have anyone throwing to him. So can we get Geno in here? And then 4,800, that gives us a kicker. So has Matthew Wright been confirmed? Okay, so he's probably the kicker. Hasn't done anything this year. Relatively unknown. We can afford him in there if you want to do that. You could get Juwan Jennings in there. That is a 3-3 stack. You got or a 4-2 stack. You got Geno and a kicker. Then you've got Debo, Ayuk, Purdy, and Jennings. But Jennings obviously had a huge day. His average is up there. Hasn't really done much since that big day, especially since Debo is back. So maybe we take Juwan out. We can still go different directions. So Charbonnet, if you want to get a little bit cheaper. You could go right. We could have both kickers in there. I've seen that happen before. So we could look at that. So we are looking at a 4-2 stack. We've got both kickers. We've got both quarterbacks. I don't mind that one as well. That is definitely one that we could look at. And then let's wrap it up with Brock Purdy as a captain. JSN is here. Geno is here. So we've got Geno thrown to JSN. We've got Brock Purdy. Who is he going to throw it to? Let's get a little creative. Let's go with Juwan Jennings. Say he has a breakout game here. We're at 7,800 the rest of the way. Maybe Lockett comes in. 10,300 is where we're at. You go Mason. You go Metcalf. Let's get Metcalf in there. So that is a 4-2 stack the other way, looking at Seattle being the top option there. Then what I want to do is one lineup with Geno as the MVP/captain, depending on which website you're on, and we can build it out that way. So who do we want him to throw it to? I think I want Geno here. I want to get DK in here for sure. Then I think we go Lockett as well. It could go Lockett or JSN. Let's see what we can do with JSN, and then we'll build around that. So we get Purdy in there. throw it to Debo. We're at 2,000. Garendo, or however you say his name, you got Juszczyk you could put in there. Or, for instance, let's say you take out Debo. Debo is at 8,800. We say 400 and go here to Ayuk. We're still at 2,400. Yeah. So you're looking at Guarendo. You go Saubert. Probably not. So if we were to take out Ayuk, just for instance, let's say we take out Ayuk. We're at 54-ish for them. Let's say we get Jason Myers in there. We're at 5,800. We could get Lockett. So you got Geno throwing it to Metcalf, throwing it to JSN. We got Myers, and we only have one. So it is a 5-1 stack with 5 being Seattle as the main. So just certain different options to be able to build out. If this is something you like, we will do it for Sunday night. We do it for Sunday Night Football. We do it for Monday Night Football as well. But now, let's check out our insights, and let's check out some bets that we want to look at. So, looking at the first insight that I wanted to bring up, and here's what I love. So you have this, and you can check it out. Go to props. So you go to the props tab, and you get a 7-day free trial with this. So definitely take advantage of this, especially if you take advantage of it today. You get 7 days, so you're going to get at least 2 NFL weeks out of it. So we can take a look at some of these bets, some of the top bets. There are 7 props that I wanted to look at. So, looking at these, the first one, George Kittle. He's got the questionable tag. He will play. For sure he will play. He's not going to miss this game. He's had 5.8 receptions per game this season, which is more than any other player who receives the ball in this lineup. He has not gone below 4 receptions in a game. Seattle has allowed 8th most receptions per game to tight ends. 4+ receptions would be what I would look at. So what I want to do is we look at, so you can click on this. It shows you how they do it. I love the key stat breakdown between the defense and what they allow. And then what I love is you can look at different markets. So I want to look at over 3.5. So that is 4+, and you can see 4 straight games with that. He's had 4 straight games this year. He's had it. Every game this year, he has had it. Let's take advantage of that. So taking a look at this, he obviously missed a week. Taking a look at this, the last 4 games, all the games that he's played this year, he has hit this. So you can add this to your picks. So what I love is you add it to your picks here, and you go down, depending on which book you're on, whether or not you're on FanDuel or Caesars or whatever, you can, and I'll show you at the end, you can take it out to your book, and you can just put your bet in there. So that's number 1. So Kittle's number 1 there. Yeah. Kenneth Walker, he only had 5 carries against the Giants in their 17-10 loss. The Niners have allowed 86 rushing yards and 42 receiving yards per game to opposing running backs. So if we look at that, rushing and receiving line, so let's go back to props. Let's take out Kittle. Let's go with Walker. So we're going to go with Kenneth Walker. We are going to go rushing and receiving. So the rushing and receiving, I'm going to go with alt line. And we're going to go over 79.5. I think you could easily get this. And I love even more of this if you need another reason to love Outlier. It breaks it down. How many total yards he had and how many of those were rushing, how many of those were receiving. So you could even break it down even further, and you could do different bets that way. So he was at 76 last week. He did nothing in that game, which is wild. Did nothing in that game here against the Giants where they lost 29-20. For whatever reason, I don't know what was going on there. I think they go back to the giving him the rock here. I want to add that to my picks as well. Okay, so those 2 are added. And you can even do the breakdowns of the game lines, line movement, the injuries, the insights. You go matchup summary. You can go record versus common opponent. You can go team rankings. You can go through everything there. So the next one, Jordan Mason. He's been, like I said, he's the number 6th overall running back this year. And that is him getting the ball late A late notice of him getting the start in week 1. Everyone got screwed. CMC has screwed a lot of people over this year. So, Jordan Mason has had 80-plus rushing yards in 4 or 5 games this season, and the line is at 81.5. I think he gets that. So if we look at Jordan Mason, and you see all the different ones, like first down, you can see which markets it's available in. Underdog. You see under 1.5 receptions, it's available on 8 books or 7 books. Price picks, like they're all there. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at rushing. So you could look at a combination, whatever you want to look at. We can move it to, so you can see they have rushing plus receiving, and you can go all the way over to see all the markets they have. So we can go rushing yards. So the line is 81.5, and you could look at over 79.5. You could bring it down, look at 80. So 80 plus there. I don't mind that. And you can see Seahawks defense does have 8 injuries to it, which is a plus for Jordan Mason and or Juszczyk or whoever is going to be the running back. But for this instance, we're going Jordan Mason. And the Seahawks just allowed Tyrone Tracy, who is a converted wide receiver to running back, 129 rushing yards last week. Jordan Mason, you know what? I'm not going to alt it. I'm going to keep it at what his line is. I'm going to go over 81.5. He can get 82. I'm going to add that to my picks as well. Now, again, you can do these as single picks or you can parlay them. Again, parlaying, obviously you get better odds or bigger odds, not better odds. The way to win money is not parlaying. It is to do straight bets. I know people don't like to hear that. I know a lot of people don't like to do it. I love to see I could turn $1 into 100,000 like DraftKings likes to put out there on their Instagram. I don't believe those tickets are always 100% real. So, and now, flip side to a different running back. Charbonnet. Everyone's going to be on Walker. Let's get us some Sharb. What are we looking at? The line for receptions is 2.5. Now we look at this. He's hit that 4 straight games. He's hit at least 3 in 4 straight games. 80% of his last 5, 50% in head-to-head, 80% this year. The line at being 2.5, I don't understand what's going on. 6 running backs have hit this line against the 49ers this year already. This is plus odds. I don't know if I'd add this to a parlay, but I would add this as a straight bet for sure. $10 on it, $20, whatever your unit to use to bet is, I would probably look at that as well. So Charbonnet's out of the way. We were talking about Brandon Ayuk. He got 147 yards and 8 receptions out of 12 targets last week. Looking at Ayuk's line, let's take a look. Ayuk receiving. Once it loads, we're looking at him at 64.5. So 64.5 is his receiving line. And like we said, looking at the odds, he has a great line here. I think if I'm making him into a parlay, I'm looking at the alt line, and I'm looking at over 49.5 to get him at 50 plus. Now, obviously, he was just short of that in these two here, and here had a big game. The line is where it's at. I'm going to take it down to 50, and we can add it to our picks as well. I do like that as well. And yeah, I think the last one I kind of want to look at are the both quarterbacks. So looking at Geno, if we're adding to a same game parlay, probably not separate like a separate one here. But if we're looking at adding to just a single bet, or not a single bet, we're adding, you need a couple of legs to add to a same game parlay. Passing yards, 200. Now it is minus 450. So, I mean, you're not doing this in a single, but if you needed to add a couple more legs, add him there. He's got 4 straight games with that. I'm going to add that. And the same thing I'm going to do with Brock. So you could look at Brock. We could look at Brock Purdy here. You look at the passing yards, it's 252, kind of the same. Move the line over to over 200, it's minus 475. He's hit that 100% of his games so you could probably bump this one up to 225. You get way better odds. So 225. He still hit that. Could you do anything more than 225? 235. You go 235 and he's done that 80% of the time, and he's been under there. He could easily do that, or you could move the line to 250 and add it there as well. So those are 7 legs onto this. You can't do some of them on all of the books. You can't do all 7. You can do 5 on DraftKings. You can do 5 on FanDuel. And what I love, so let's say we go to DraftKings, and you've got it there. You can't do the Kenneth Walker or the George Kittle for whatever reason, but you can do everything else in Duet. So you can add it to your bet slip, and it's actually going to take you out to whichever sports book, whether or not it's DraftKings, whether or not it's FanDuel, Prize Picks, whatever it is, it'll take you out there, and I have to sign in. So I'm not going to sign in here on camera, but you can check that out. You can check out all of the odds. You can check out doing single bets here. You can turn it into a same game parlay. You can do it all. So hopefully this was eye-opening. Hopefully it was helpful. I know there's a lot of new people here from the past couple of nights from baseball and some from football from last weekend. So if you like the way we do this and you like these bets that come out with these videos, let me know that down below. I did forget to mention, we have giveaways. If this video gets a minimum of 50 likes, you have a chance at a free week of FTA+. You got to like, subscribe, and you've got to leave a comment. If this video gets at least 100 likes, someone will win a free month. 150 likes, someone will win a free year. 200 or more likes on this video, someone will win a lifetime pass, which is worth $500 to FTA+. So that's what I've got in this video. Hopefully we all bring home the bacon this weekend. Hopefully you guys have success in sports betting. Hopefully you guys have success in DFS. Whatever you are doing this weekend, hopefully you guys have success. Let's have some fun. And as always, let's bring home the bacon. Peace.